Here's what to say when she talks about leaving. And in today's video, we're going to talk about how do you respond whenever she brings up leaving, whether that's separation, divorce, taking space, whatever that conversation is. And just to be clear, this isn't for the first time it's ever said, because that's a whole nother situation, because chances are you're going to be in shock. But after you've gotten past that and you're working on the marriage, you're doing everything you can, and she keeps bringing up the conversation or she brings it back up again and again. And the problem here is most guys handle this wrong, right? They either get angry, they get defensive, they paralyze, or they get really needy, or they just break down and collapse every time it's brought up. And the thing you have to know is this conversation is actually a really powerful opportunity to make great inroads into your process of reconciliation. This is actually a really great opportunity if you know the right things to do. So if it's not handled right, then it can undo all the progress that you've made, right? It all takes is one conversation where you just break down, you lose it and whatnot. And all of the positive equity you've been building back up through your process can be wiped out. And it can be another reminder of why she wants to leave. So let's talk about how you handle this conversation. Actually, first talk about how you don't handle this conversation. And these are the typical reactions that men are having. Let's first talk about lashing out in anger, which is a very common one. And why is this a problem? It may be obvious, but we're going to explore it anyways. When you lash out in anger, it shows that she's right about wanting to leave you, right? It shows that you can't handle it. You can't understand what she's really trying to communicate. You're making this all about you, right? And you're just incapable of realizing what's going on. The next one is trying to fight it. So she brings it up and you're like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm going to resist it. I don't want to talk about it, whatever. And what this shows is you're an enemy. You're somebody she has to fight for this, right? And what happens then? She doubles down. She entrenches herself into that position. And when you find yourself in a situation where like, I don't know what's happening, she's like not giving me anything. Like she's super defensive. She's super hostile. Everything I do causes issues because you're fighting. You're fighting her from getting what she wants. And when you do this, now you're going to make it much, much more difficult every time. And the last one is just trying to ignore it. Putting your head in the sand, begging, anything like that is another reaction that we see men having. And the problem here, it shows essentially you're weak. It shows you can't handle the situation. It shows she can't rely on you. Like, why would she want a partner who can't handle this? Why does she want a partner who is just collapsing in the face of a challenge, a confrontation? Right? So in all these situations, all it does is make the problem worse. So now, why don't we talk about a better way to respond? So I'm going to talk about each piece of this, and then I'm going to give you an example of what it sounds like when it's all brought together. So the first thing we're going to do is acknowledge it. Acknowledge her needs and take responsibility. And what this looks like is she says, I want a divorce. You say, I get it. I get it. And frankly, I don't blame you. I understand that if I was in your situation, you had to deal with what you dealt with me for this long. I probably want one too. So I get it. I understand. I'm sorry that I created a situation that you want to leave. So what do we do there? We acknowledge it. We validate her reasons. We took responsibility for creating the situation. We're not blaming her. And there's nothing to fight. There's nothing to resist in that. Okay. So after that, we're going to make it clear that you don't want this, but you're not going to fight it. Okay? And what that looks like is, and I understand you want to leave, but I want you to know that I don't want this. I am going to take a stand for this and a stand for our marriage because I believe there's still a possibility to fix this. I believe that I can be the man who you want to be with again, who you want to spend the rest of your life with again, who you will say I do to again. Right? But I'm not going to fight you if this is what you really want to do. I'm not going to stand in your way. Let me know what you need from me to move this process forward. Okay. So what we do there, we make our intentions clear. We let them know what we'll be working on. We'll let them know that we're not giving up and we're committed to being that better man. And you have to back this up with action. You have to back this up with doing the things that will make things better. And then we told her we're not going to fight her on it. And we will do what she needs. But we're not taking lead on it. And we won't be expected to take lead because we said we don't want it. So you're putting the weight on her to move it forward. And through that, you're also asking for any specific requests that she needs, right? Because you're not going to go out and look for all this stuff because why would you? You don't want it. But what you are doing is saying, if you have any specific requests for what I need to do, let me know and I will get it done promptly. All right. And you have to mean it and you have to do it. Okay. And then at the end, you're going to speak into your vision and double down and be like, hey, once again, I know that we're in a tough spot. I know this is what you want to do. Like I said, I'm not going to fight it. I'm going to keep working on being that man, regardless of what happens. And I want you to know that I still see a possibility for a greater life together where we can do X, Y, and Z, where it looks like this, this, and this, where all these things are present. You're sharing your vision, right? And you're doing all these things and you're double downing and letting her know that regardless of what happens, regardless of where this goes, you're still committed to creating that vision. And that may be a little confusing, but essentially what you're doing is you're sharing your vision of who you are and what you are going to create and who you're becoming, right? You're double downing and sharing that with her. So you're speaking that vision out there and you let her know you're committed to creating that regardless of what happens here, but you want her to be part of it. All right. So what I'm going to do is bring that all together into one. So we're going to do a quick example. My wife walks up to me and says, hey, I think we need to separate. And I think I'm not happy. I want to get a divorce. You're like, okay. And in this example, I'm pretending like it's the first time. Chances are it's more like hey, she brings back a divorce conversation. But anyways, coming back. So she says this and I say, okay, I understand. Like I haven't been showing up in a long time in this marriage. And I know it's been really hard for you and you deserve better. And you've given me more than enough time to change and I hadn't. So I get why you want to do this. And I take responsibility for creating a situation that we're in. Like this is on me. And I just want you to know I'm sorry. Right. But I also want you to know that I don't want this. I don't want this. I'm still committed to you. I'm still committed to this marriage fully and completely. And I'm also not going to fight you if this is what you really need to do. So if there's anything specific you need me to do to move this along for you, let me know and I'll get it done. But I want to be clear that I'm not going to be putting any effort into this happening because I don't want it. But I'm not going to stop you from doing it. My effort's going to go into me being the man that you deserve to be with. And I want you to know, like that man is going to create a much greater financial future for us. It's going to be a great father for our kids. We're going to take lots more vacations. We're going to go get that dream home that we want. And I want you in that. I understand if you don't want to be part of that anymore, but this is what I'm committed to creating. And I hope you're there with me. So that was just kind of off the cuff of me just thinking about it. But you can understand how if you respond to those conversations like that, if you allow yourself to acknowledge and take responsibility, support it or support that your stance on wanting it not to happen, but not fight, and then share your vision, like it just creates a much better conversation. And know that when you say this, she may react in a number of ways. She may be impressed. She may be completely stonewall with it. She may double down and say like, well, that's never happening. I'm done. Blah, blah, blah. She may come back with that just to try to beat it into your head a little bit more. Like there's a whole slew of reactions. I'm not saying this is some magic pill that will shift the conversation. It may, good chance that it will, but it come back. Depending on how you've shown up over the relationship is really going to depend on how she reacts. But it's going to be planting little seeds into her head. And it's going to set you up for so much better success than the typical reactions that men have. Because it's going to be showing her that, oh, he understands that what he's been doing, like he's not oblivious to it. Okay, he doesn't want it, but I don't have to fight him for this. I do have to take lead, but I don't have to fight him. On this, he's going to go with it. And wow, like he's really wanting to create something better. And you're backing that up with action and showing that change. So it's also grounding her for that change. So for the guys who's trying to make all the changes right at once, this also supports that because she's understanding that you're not doing it to try to please her. You're doing it because you had a wake up call. You see a greater version of yourself that you become. You see a vision and you're moving towards that. So give that a try. But just make sure whatever you say, you have to back it up because otherwise it's just empty words. So you have to mean what you say and you have to follow through with what you're saying or else you might as well just not do anything. All right. So that's what I have for you. If you have any questions, I will point some resources below this video. Let me know how it works out for you. All right. See you on the next one.